Hello everyone, you're welcome to our stream today, and we're just continuing with what we did last time. This time I'm not going to review what we did last time because last time I spent much of the time reviewing, so I can't review a review. Straight away, let's get into what we're supposed to be doing. So let's create a new folder. Let's call it Learn HTML Part 6, and let's just right click on this. Show more options, open with code. So I have this here. So today I want to be so quick and straightforward to the point. We want to start learning how to use multiple selectors in our HTML elements, and so we're going to create two files. Actually, let's create first our file index.html, and let's create also our CSS. Most times when we shall be doing this, we shall be putting a CSS file in the same directory with the index.html. But as a web designer, sometimes you might want to separate things. So you can say, maybe I have a CSS folder, maybe you create another folder called JavaScript or something of the kind. So I think let's do this. Let me put my style.css inside the CSS folder, so when I minimize it, I see that it disappears. So let's go on. Excuse me a bit. Alright, we're back. I'm sorry, I had to deal with my door a bit. So let's start with what we're supposed to be doing. We're going straight away to our main point. Let's do this, HTML. Let's call it. Today we're just going to be doing a lot with our CSS, and yeah, so basically let me just call it CSS selectors. Okay, so let's link our style sheet now. Because our style sheet is in a folder called CSS, which is in the same location with index.html. Maybe let me do this. Right click on this and go to reveal in File Explorer. So if you look at your File Explorer here, okay, if you look at my File Explorer here, you'll see that I have index and CSS in the same folder, but inside CSS is where I have the style file. So for me to be able to link it to my HTML, I just type in here link, and then I have to type in the name of the folder, CSS, and then / and then the name of the style sheet. So here we go. So let's do something simple. Let's create just a simple div tag, div, and inside that div let's have another div, and let's have an h1 there, and let's call it welcome to my web page. Every time we're using welcome to my web page, I don't know, maybe it's what I've just chosen to use. Let's open this with live server. So we shall have it here. Let me put it on the right and this to the left. So let me hide this a bit. So below it, let's have a paragraph with something like where you will find all you need, something of this kind. So below this, let's create another div tag, and in this div tag we want to have another div tag and another div tag and a paragraph with lorem of 100 words. Okay, let me just press Alt Z to make sure I have all the text wrapped around. Let me have another paragraph with 50 words. Let me first save it to see what I have. So this is what I have currently. Okay, so let me have a paragraph with 50 words, P lorem 50. Let me see, how does this look? Good. Let me put in between these a heading 2, H2, lorem 10. Okay, so I have a simple heading here. Okay, now outside of all these divs, so outside this div, so when I click on it I should see it highlighted here. So outside of it I want to have another div, and so now I'm going to have a paragraph. Just say copyright. It is supposed to be and copy, and I say Joseph Opio 2021. Okay, let me believe where we shall be in 2022. Is this how it is written? Let me have it here, 2022 Joseph Opio all lefts reserved. Sorry, yeah, let me use it like that. Why do they always have to tell us all rights reserved, all rights reserved? Maybe this time we could also say lefts. I know it doesn't exist, but we're just using that. So now let's go into our style sheet now. Let's see something happening. Previously, whenever we wanted to change a background of a div tag, we could say maybe div, we convert the div tag into a selector in CSS and we say maybe background color. Maybe we could have something like hash. I actually told you about how to use HSL. HSL is so easy for, you know, getting better hues of different colors, because you can easily manage angles, you can easily manage percentages. So like, let's say for example in this color I want it to become a little darker. I'll just come here and I change the lightness to, like, let's say 50%, 50 like this. I will see that it will actually become blue. Let me save this. So you can see that all my divs have actually received a blue color, even this div which is separate. How about if I want to target this second div here? Actually, let me do this. Sorry, I had not planned this out. Let me see. One. Okay, let me have another one here. Div. I say P. No, let me see. Let me say I want an H3 lorem 15. Sorry about that back tick. Okay, I have it here. Give it a paragraph of something of this kind. So you'll see that everything that I insert here, as long as it's a div, it will get this background color. But then it is possible for us to target specific div tags. Like, look here, we have a div inside of a div. Now someone is like, why are we only targeting div tags? Any tag we can target it. For example, I want to target this H1, which is inside of a div, which is inside of a div. I could do it like this. I could say maybe I want that it first starts from a div, then H1. So I could write as div H1, and I could say I want to give it a background color of let me give it aqua. Then I use HSL to modify it to my liking. So something like this. Let me give it, sorry, 70%. If you look here, with just this div H1, I've literally targeted only this tag here. Maybe to make sure that we have we don't have any white spaces here, we could do something like before we do anything up here, we say body, we say margin 0, and then padding 0, and border sizing, border sizing, is it box sizing? Box sizing, yeah, border box, sorry, I confused the two words. So I do not have any spaces around. So you now notice that I've been able to target only this H1. Let's say I did not want to target the H1, instead I want to target the paragraph. It's as easy as me changing the H1 to P, like this. So you'll find every paragraph which has two div tags behind it, two div tags behind this paragraph, it gets that coloration. Two div tags behind this paragraph, it gets that coloration. Let's go down this way. Two div tags behind this paragraph. Of course, we shall get to know how we can name the things later. We have to go step by step. So you'll notice that I've been able to target only those two div tags. Assuming I want only the div tags which have, like, let's say here, div, and then this one is the same level with this one, div. There are 4 divs, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then a paragraph. I could say 1, 2, 3, 4, and then a paragraph. I could say I want them to have background color of red. See what will happen? Only those paragraphs which have up to 4 div tags behind them will get that coloration. only those. You see, there are only two here, which is this paragraph and this paragraph. Because there's an H2 here, it separates them. So you can see that. So I'm able to target specific paragraphs, and yeah, that enables me to do a lot of stuff here and there. Now, whenever we are dealing with our tags, there is a selector which selects everything. That selector is called a universal selector, which is a star. When you say star, it means every selector. Let's say we want to give every selector a border of 2 pixels, solid, maybe gold. Let me use gold since it's a bright color. You can see everything here called a tag has this border. Actually, let me not make it solid. Let me make it dashed. You can see everything, every tag actually has now that dotted line around it. So this is called a universal selector. It's a selector that when you apply settings to it, it actually overrides everything. For example, if I want to change my font to, oh, someone is telling me I don't have my background music today. Let me just do it a bit. Okay, there you go. We have some background music. Yeah. So I was saying now, this selector can do almost. Actually, it will affect everything. Let's say, for example, I want to give it a padding of 20. Oh, sorry, I forgot to put this. Save. You can see that everything has a padding of 20 pixels. Even our HTML tag, it has a padding of 20 pixels. You can literally adjust anything. Now, because here I set the body to have a padding of 0, you see that there is a double line here. It's double. So that is about that. That is about the universal selector, the selector that selects everything. Anyway, let's do something like this. Let's say we want to give our paragraphs a color of, I don't want to use 000. I want to use 005E. Let me use E5EE. Okay, some sort of aqua, and then I give it. Oh, I have to take this up because the way CSS does its thing. I think let me do it here so I can explain this. Let me say background color white. Just use that for now. The way CSS does its thing is this: as it is applying these formats, it starts from up downwards. The last one affects like almost everything. The last one is the strongest to apply. So that is about that. So let's say we want to have a div tag. This is just for practice. There's a paragraph and a div tag. We want to give it a background color. Should I say it? Just a color of CC000. Sorry, hash CC. Okay, it's some kind of red. You'll see that it's affecting only certain paragraph. Oh wait, what is this color? What is happening with me today? Because it's only affecting those paragraphs which have only one div tag behind them, and then all paragraphs have at least a div tag behind them. So with this I can override almost every setting. We can also do anything. We can little or much change everything. Now, what I wanted us to learn today much is about parents and children. Let me write it here. Let me just zoom this in a bit. Let me say parents and children. This is one concept which so many people find hard to understand in HTML, and let's break it down our way. So let me just open up Microsoft Word and use it for explaining this very well. And We have Microsoft Word opening. Okay, so we have it here. All right, let me just use Smart Art, insert Smart Art. Let me use hierarchy, something like this. Okay, so let me just give it different colors so we can easily understand the things. All right, so let's start. When you look at your HTML document, index.html, we started with our HTML tag. So HTML tag is the parent tag, so it is at the topmost and at the bottommost. So we shall have our HTML tag like that. Below HTML, we have two tags. We have this head, which surrounds all this. Thank God for VS Code, it shows you where it closes. So head surrounds this and body surrounds the rest of the content. See that? So head and body are at the same level. Let me get this out a bit. We have your head and body. They are at the same level. Now, what is happening here? Everything that is inside the head, which is meta, title, and link, they are all inside the head tag. You see this head opens from here and closes here, so we have them enclosed in the middle there. So let's just have those tags there. So below the head tag, let me demote this, demote. We have title, we have meta. Let me use small letters this time. We have link, and we can have so many other tags inside there. So the head tag has title, meta, and link. How about in the body section? We are going to use the very HTML document that we have. So in our body section, we have a div tag. This div tag is surrounding all the way. Oh, we have a div tag and another div tag and another div tag. So it is something like this. We have div. Oh, let me demote it. So div and div and div. And in the first div, which is this one, I have another div. Then below it I have h1 and p. So in the first div, let me demote this. I have another div, then h1. Then below it I have h1. Wait, sorry, demote. I have h1 and a paragraph. I think these colors are not good for my eyes. Let me see what I can do. Use better. I think this is okay. In the second div tag, which is this one here, let me see, body. This div tag is supposed to be below body, and this is supposed to be below body. In the second div tag, let me demote it. Second div tag, after the body div. Oh, all these are actually below the first div. Did I do it right? No, I think I did it wrong. Let me work on them one by one. Let me put this on the right, this on the left. Let's work together slowly. So we have body and div. That is the first div. Let me minimize this. Second div, minimize it. Third div, minimize it. So I have below body, I must have a div and a div and a div. Let me see this. Below body, I must have a div and a div and a div. Okay, so let me just get rid of this completely. So below body, I have a div and a second div and a third div. So in the first div, I have a div, then h1 and p. After that, I have a second div. Then below it another div, then below it another div, then below that I have a paragraph. Okay, paragraph. Then I have h2, then I have another paragraph. Okay, that is done. Close, close, close. End of that div. So the first div inside the main first div is done. So the first div completely is done. So let's go to the second one. Let me minimize this too. Second div, which is supposed to be this one here. It is here. So this div has a div inside of it, and then h3 inside of that, and then p. So this div has a div inside of it, and then h3, and then paragraph. Okay, that's done. So let's go to the last one, which is this div here. This div has just a paragraph inside of it. So paragraph like this. So if you look at the layout of this, actually this looks like a tree. If you look at it so well, it looks like a tree. In fact, we call this a tree. So you will find that in this we have our HTML tag. This HTML tag is the one that covers everything. Now, out of HTML branch two tags, which is head and body. Now, this head and body are called children of the HTML tag, while HTML is the parent of head and body. Now, head also has children, which is title, meta, and link. These are children of head. Same with body. Body has three divs, which are its children. These three children are these three are children of body. So body is the parent of the three divs. Same here. This div is the parent of this. This div is the parent of this. This div is the parent of this. This div is the parent of this paragraph. This div is the parent of this heading 3. This div is the parent of this paragraph. So this div is the parent of this div, which is the parent of this div, which is the parent of this paragraph h2 and p. So now what we are doing currently, we need to understand about parent and children. Now, head and body can be called siblings, or we call them siblings, because they are all children of the same parent. Just like in a normal situation, you are a child of your parent. All right, now we have been able to use some kind of CSS where we'll just say we want a div, then maybe div p, something of the kind. But then at certain times we were able to reach those elements which were within certain kinds of tags. Sometimes we can be able to grab, like, let's say paragraphs which are directly below certain tags. Let me just get rid of all this for now, and let's do something that looks like this. Maybe I want to grab paragraphs which are directly below a div, and I maybe set their color to red, something of this kind. I could do this. If I put this angle bracket, it will actually target paragraphs which are directly below a div. If it has anything else in between, like let's say there was another tag in between them, it will avoid them completely. It will avoid those tags. So in that way, we can be able to target certain specific paragraphs, and certain specific elements, and make them have a lot of things here and there. Now that might be hard for you to remember, because I remember those days when I was just learning how to do HTML. This is how we used to target things in CSS, and kind of it was hectic. You had to remember things, you had to do what. But then there is this concept that is currently being used, which you need to know. and that is the concept of using IDs and selectors and classes, sorry. So under IDs and classes, there's something that you need to know very accurately. An ID is used to identify one element. I think let me put this in a comment like this. So IDs are used to identify or target specific elements, while selectors are used to target not selectors, sorry, classes are used to target a range of elements. So for example, okay, this is how I always explain it to my students. Let's say, for example, it's a classroom and I have students. Each student has an ID. That ID is unique for every student. In most schools, what we use for identifying you as a student is called a student number. And that number sometimes can also be called the ID number. So that number is unique to every student. Every new year that passes by, everyone gets a unique ID number. While if we are to put certain students with certain specific things together, like certain specific characteristics together, we can get a class. Like for example, we have the students who are in year 8, or maybe let's say grade 8 students. Now, a student who is in year 8 has certain characteristics of those people who are in year 8. Let's take, for example, subjects that they do in class. There are subjects that they do in certain classes that are not available in other classes. So that is because they are in that class. So that class, whatsoever characteristic that is shown by one person in terms of what they're expected to be knowing is actually shown by everyone else. So now, in this way, we can also group elements by IDs and classes. So how do we define classes in HTML? By the way, wait a minute. When I use IDs and classes, it makes it very easy for me. I do not have to do all this kind of stuff where I have to create a lot of IDs here and there. Man, it's too much. Let me actually just get rid of this, get rid of this, and get rid of this, get rid of this. I just want to have one let me format document. Good. I just want to have one div which is all nested inside one div, something of this kind. Let me also have this. Okay, this also I want to get rid of this div and get rid of this div. Sorry, this. So I need to take this down. So everything there is inside that div. Format document. So I have everything there. Let me leave this one for my footer outside. So how would I define a div? I mean, how would I define a class? To define a class, we apply it as an attribute to our tag. So the attribute I would use is class, and I would say maybe I want to call this container, something of this kind. So when I want to use that class inside of my CSS, I will use a dot and I say container. Whatsoever I will do with this, it will actually be applied to our CSS. There's something I like doing, maybe just to show my students what I'm doing. I say maybe body. Oh, previously I actually said, let me say body. Let me give it padding 0, and then padding 0. I want to give it margin 0. I want to give it also box sizing, border box, and then I can say maybe background color black. Let me use black this time. So if I do this, actually I think I should be doing this. I should put this on the side this way. You'll see that all my text has become black, So let me give it, let me now go to the container, and I say maybe I want to give it background color white. So you can see that my container has actually become white, but I want to give it a maximum width. Let me set this to 0, just because we already know what is inside there. Maximum width to 800 pixels, max width to 800 pixels. 800 pixels. So see what happens. Now my div is actually having a maximum width of 800 pixels, and it's the container. Maybe I want to put it at the in the center of my page. I could say I want to give it a margin. I don't want 0. I mean, I want 0 for left, right, and then auto for, 0 for up, down, and then auto for left, right. Even if I just set the margin to auto, it will automatically center the div. But then I want to make sure that the top and the bottom have no margin, so I just put 0 and auto. So how does margin apply? We're going to talk about this later, but maybe let's just have this for now. Margin 0 auto. So that will put my div at the center always. So at least I have my div at the center. Let me give it a padding of 20 pixels. So with that done, I now see that my HTML is well laid out. And yes, so we have something like this. Okay, of course, when you'll be designing your web pages, you'll not be using such, you'll not be using such boring colors. But of course, yeah, even black and white well designed can be so good. So now what happens? Let's say I want this to be the heading of my document. I'll come here where there is a welcome, and this to be the header. So let me say class header. So I'll go to my CSS, and I have to select that header class by saying dot header. And in my header class, I want to give it background color of sorry, what have I done? Color of black. Why am I using black all the time? Let me use background color corn silk. Let me convert it to hexadecimal, just because I want to look web designer. I showed you about hexadecimal. If you don't know about it, please check in one of my previous videos. I'll put a link on the top right after I finish this broadcast. So yes, that is okay. Let me give it padding of 20 pixels too. Okay, let me give it a negative margin. Actually, these values can be negative or positive. If I put margin to, like, let's say negative 20 pixels, see what I get? It gets off the container 20 pixels padding, so I'm able to use it all around here. Oh, you might not see the color so well. Let's adjust the color a bit. Let me just choose a random color here. I think let me choose a dark color, something like this. Okay. Let me give it a color of white. Now this color white will be, let me use corn silk, will be applied to the text inside. So you can see that actually my margin, let me comment it out. Before I commented it out, there was a white space around it, but after getting it back in, you notice that that white space has been covered by this margin. Let me say maybe I want to give it a text align of center, and maybe in between these I want to put a horizontal rule, HR here, something of this kind. So you can see that the color that I applied to this div has actually been applied to even the underline. Yet previously I was actually finding it hard to do it. So with that done, at least I'm sure that what I'm doing is perfect. So let's go on. We are still working with our classes. Let's say this is supposed to be our body. Okay. Let's leave the body alone. Maybe let's give it let's call it main, class main. We shall target it later. And then inside main I have, oh, this is main, and then let's call this second section. Now let's call this also main, class main. So what will happen is this: if I choose the class main, sorry, I was thinking of writing class main. Let's say main. I want to give it a font family. Let me just use font family to differentiate, because I've been using so many things the other time. So you'll see everything in main has this. Good. But I want one of the tags in main to be having a font family of, like, let's say Courier new, or maybe no, let's use a monospace font. Let me say mono. Let me have a class called code, and in this code class, let's say I want to give it a font family monospace, something like this. I want one of the main divs to have this monospace. So what I can do is I can define as many classes as I want in here. Just like let's now take in a school environment. There are those students who can be in the soccer club, they can be in the music club, they can be maybe in basketball, they can take on so many clubs. So let's say, for example, here this one is having the class called main and the class called code. So you'll see that now code will affect this. I told you this is read from top to bottom. So the CSS that appears last is the one that affects the is the one that affects the HTML last. Now you might want, like, let's say in this case, I want this to override whatsoever comes in later. What you'll do here is this: before this semicolon, let me just wrap this a bit. Before this semicolon, I'll have to enter in something like this. I'll put colon, exclamation, important. If I do that, it will override this, even though it is the last one. Important will override this. So hope we've learned that too. Let me just save this like this so that I can have that there. All right, so let's say this one, let's give it a class of footer, class footer, and in my footer dot footer, I want to give it a background color. I want to give it cornflower blue, sorry, background color, cornflower blue, something like this. Then I want to give it a padding of 40 pixels. Good. I need to always stick at the bottom even though I scroll. So what will I do? I'll say bottom 0. Does that work? No, I think let me first leave this, because this we shall talk about it later. All right, so that is okay. I want to give it a text align center. So text align center works well for me. Let me say I want font family to be cursive, something like this. So I have a cursive font here. Okay, this is good enough for me for today. So when I expand this, everything is okay. I think let me do the same for my heading. It should have this. So what do I have to do? I will have to take it out of the container. No, let me not do that, because that will be too much work for me right now. I'm only here to show you a few things here and there. So now let's say we have a section called no, let's not do that. Okay, let me do it. Let's have your H2 friends and enemies. Okay, inside here, I think let's put this inside of a div tag, div like this. Then I click here, hold down alt, bring this down, hold down alt, take this up. So I want to create a div. Now the shortcut for writing a div with a class on it, you can say div dot friend that will create a div with a class of friend. And since so many people do this kind of thing, you can also just say dot friend, like that, to create for a div with a class of friend. Let me do this, and let me do dot enemy. If I want to duplicate, I just hold down Alt and Shift, and I can duplicate as many as I want. Okay, let me have one called family. So, oh, what have I done? Okay, so we have a few div tags here and there, and they are not visible. So let's give all of them a general class of sorting. Maybe we are trying to sort out friends and family. So let's say this. Let's go to, oh sorry, let me have this to the right. Let's go to our CSS and let's have the class called sorting. Okay, sorting. Let's say our sorting, we want to give them height of 20 pixels. Sorry, I keep forgetting this because sometimes I just hit enter, it puts for me everything, and sometimes I forget. And a width of 20 pixels. So that will create for us some spaces here, but we can't see them. So let's give them background color of let's say crimson. Let me see. Let me use tomato. This is much better. Let me convert it to hexadecimal. It's one of the tricks you can use for getting colors, and someone will be like, how do you get those colors accurately? So for now, let's do something that looks like this. Though we have not yet learned about it, but let's do something that looks like this. Let's say display inline. Let's give it a display inline. Display inline, something like this. So, oh, let's say inline block. Okay, display inline. So we have them here. I think let me make them a little big, 50. Let's have something like this. So let me also give them a border radius of 50%. This will turn them into circles. Okay, good. So let's start dealing with friends. Let's say our friends are going to have let's first say family. Family, these are the good guys, they don't betray you. Border 2 pixels, solid green. So you have only 4 members of family here. Let's make it a little bigger, say 4 pixels, something like this. So let me say dotted, no, solid. Let's have friends, sorry, dot friends. I don't know what's happening with my typing today. Friends, let's say these guys are blue. So border 4 pixels, dotted blue. We don't have any friends. Oh wait, we said friend, something like this. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4 friends, and then we have our enemies with border 4 pixels, solid red. Should we say solid now? Dotted. Okay, now We have given all of them classes, and these classes we are able to see that we've actually used them to, oh, excuse me, my music again stopped. Sorry. I didn't set it to loop. Let me loop it and play it again. Yeah, so here we go. Let's say we want to assign certain friends and certain enemies. We want to assign them IDs which can help us identify them. Now to assign an ID, like let's say to this friend, no, let's have the third friend, who is this one here. We shall just say ID, and then we can put in the ID. Let's say best friend. Let's go and say our best friend. For us to select that ID, we have to use a hash, then best friend, and let's say this person has border, let's say 6 pixels, solid. What's happening with me? 6 pixels, solid blue. So this, you can see that there is one best friend, and let's try to create an ID called the worst enemy. Worst enemy. This enemy should be having 6 pixels. Let's give him a solid color, and you know, I'm a Bible reader, and the Bible says even if your sins are as red as crimson, so let's use crimson to mean the person with the worst sins he has ever done to us. So crimson, actually crimson is less thicker than red. What can I do? HSL, please save me. So let me first make it red. So F00. So make it red, and good. HSL save me. I want to come here and reduce this to 30. Yes, very thick. Now let's get into this enemy here. Let's say this last enemy here is our arch nemesis, so we can say ID, and we want to get worst enemy. So you see that this has been given that solid red color. Let me zoom it in a bit. So with this, you notice that I was able to target each of these things individually using IDs and classes. These are very important when you start learning certain frameworks, certain CSS frameworks like Bootstrap, like Tailwind. There's so many others. So that is about that. We've been able to learn how to use IDs and selectors. Today I'm so happy that I wonder how long we've been online. Let me just check. 48 minutes. Yeah, I'm happy. If you've reached here and you've not subscribed, please do me a favor, subscribe. You know, I do this for free. I do this because I love this thing. I really love it, and I would be so happy if you subscribe. And yeah, that's that. So for today I want to end here, and I just want maybe to end here, and I will see you guys next time. Allow me sign out today this early, because I was actually thinking next time I want to talk to you guys about pseudo classes, and I'm sure we shall learn a lot. Pseudo classes make your work very interactive. Let me just give you just a small sample here. Let's say, for example, this header. I want every time my mouse goes to this header, it should become like, let's say, black and the text red. Can that be good? Let me just do it here. So this has a class of header. This is just something just to have a sneak peek of what we shall do next time. So I want to give it a hover class like this. and I say when my mouse goes over it, I want it to have a background color of black and color of red. So see what will happen every time my mouse goes on. So next time we shall learn how to interact with our content, so we can be able to do a lot of stuff here and there. Immediately my mouse switches there, it becomes different color. My mouse switches there, it becomes a different color. So you can be able to do that, and like let's say no, let me not go so far. So ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for hanging out with me today. You've been very wonderful people. Thank you so much. Remember to subscribe, hit that like button, send any questions, anything that you need to be clarified. I'll be so happy to clarify it. And thank you so much for listening. Have a great time everyone, and see you again later.